which she was not qualified for a 10 commission. But my recommendation is to reappoint Mr. Alonzo Fillmore for a 4-year term as Commissioner seat number 5.
So
I
I made
thought
that
that was
motion.
what Tina was supposed to be in that.
She withdrew hers.
Huh?
She withdrew it.
Okay,
We'll report motion.
we've had a recommendation by the city manager.
Mayor.
I'm sorry, the mayor.
I don't want his job.
I'll motion that we accept the recommendation coming from our mayor to reappoint Mr. Fillmore.
Okay, we have a motion. Does anyone want a second? And hearing none, that motion will die on the floor, but I guess what we'll do is extend for other applicants. What kind of time frame would we put on that if we do that?
I think, is that something our attorney needs to time on?
That's what I'm asking.
I think you can do it next month.
Okay, we have another applicant. We have
If I
another.
remember correctly, the statute says it's continued until, or continue to serve until filled. So I put it on the next month's agenda.
Question. And what was the reason why Ms. Pruitt could not be appointed?
Doesn't qualify. I don't know what your qualifications are.
Oh, yeah, she's qualified.
I'm qualified.
Oh, I thought you said.
Well, Tina
No, I-
withdrew.
Oh, she
We had two,
We had 2 applicants.
We had 2
My
applicants.
recommendation was for Mr. Fillmore.
Okay.
That being denied, I don't know.
Well,
This term ends September 30th,
September 3rd.
but I'm resigning tonight, put somebody else in. Because I'm the sewer board in the housing authority.
If
I would just reopen it for applicants in 30 days.
yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll just reopen this for applicants. And if that's the case, then you can put a written, that you're resigning from the board. And, submit that to the mayor, and we'll go forward from there. All right?
third item is appointment to the Fire Pension Board. We have one applicant, Teresa Smith. We did speak with her, and she is willing to serve.
Okay, we've heard the recommendations from Mrs. Smith to the Fire Pension Board. What are the wishes of the board?
I'll have a motion that we accept the mayor's recommendation for Ms. Teresa Smith to be appointed to the fire pension board.
Okay, we have a motion,
Second.
and we have a second, open for discussion.
Discussion. You know, I really admire how you guys are doing this, how you're disappointing people. But you know, my first thing I always ask you, did you advertise to people? And Teresa's my cousin friend. My question is to give everybody a fair chance to, I know advertising for these positions, and you're putting them out there for people to know that these positions are available. I have no, Teresa can definitely be the problem. That's my concern, is that you're using, you know, we're not actually getting out in the community and putting it out there and say, hey, look, these are positions that's coming available. That's one of the concerns that I have. And Teresa, I'm going to vote to put Teresa in there, but that's my concern when we talk about discussion. I don't think it's right that we sit here and we don't put it out there to the community that these positions are available. Because this is my first time hearing about it myself, and I sit on the, maybe I should have done more digging into it. But when you sit here and you do things like this, it put doubts in my mind about how we're running the city business. And this is something that I'm very much concerned about, because I think that before you make decisions like this, it should be open to the public. We shouldn't just sit here and decide on, because this person, we just call this person whatever. And we've done that as far as when we were looking for positions for, was it housing? I mean, for the CRA. So this is one of my concerns, that as a city councilwoman, that we look at our practices and our procedures about how, when there are positions open, how we go about fulfilling them. Just like we had to go back and run the position of, we had to run the position for the CRA, we had to run for another because it wasn't advertised. That's my only thing is, guys, come on, let's be fair to everybody. Let's just not appoint someone. Let's just not appoint someone in these positions. You said you've spoken with Teresa, and Teresa said she'll do it.
Question.
Okay, let's go.
Question.
Yes.
And I'm gonna piggyback on what you said as well. Who were, Mr. Mayor or Mr. Gill, were you all responsible for, was there an advertisement made on that position? Was I got,
The position is very specific, where they have to have a financial background. So the general public, there were several people in the city that has some CPAs and others that we reached out to, asking if they would participate on the board, and they declined. And this Teresa was working in the finance department for 30 years. She has a good background in finance, and this is a firefighter's pension trust, so it's very specific to what they need and understanding that the general public does not have that kind of training or background. So that's why we reached out to those people.
so for both, how many people did we reach out to?
I don't have a list. I kept going until I got a yes answer. I get a lot of no's.
Oh, yeah. I have no problem with issue with that.
So here's what I think we need to do. I don't have a problem, we can advertise, there might be somebody in the audience tonight that would like to do it. This is not a recommendation, this is not a statute that says the mayor makes the recommendation. This is just under my business, just to get it to the council. So if you want to advertise, I'm happy with that, and we'll come back next time. But if you want my recommendation, probably Ms. Smith would be at the top of my list.
And this is
I don't have a problem with that. It's difficult. It is difficult to find people to do these things when they're not paid. A lot of people do. So I don't have a problem with that. It's not my statutory duty to do that, but I'd be glad to do it.
Mayor, I have no problem with Ms. Smith being on the
Right,
board.
I
That's not,
understand
there's not a problem with Ms. Smith on the board. It's just that the policies, procedures, and how we're doing business.
When do we have to have this appointed, you know, Ms. Joy?
We do have a motion and a second on the floor, so
Yeah,
we
we
need
do.
to.
So we're gonna vote on that.
You gotta vote
This
on
is just
what-
discussion.
No,
We
this
have
is a discussion. It's just a discussion, is my concerns about.
All right.
Is there a term limit? Is there a term limit on this position
I think under the ordinances until they resign.
until they resign? That
They're
person,
filling a position. Mr. Thrasher had been on there for years. He resigned.
all right,
This is to fill his position.
so there's no term limit.
No term limit. And they only meet once a year.
That's what I'm saying.
Now, do we, so do we,
We have a motion with a
Hold on.
second, so we're gonna,
hold on.
I mean, you're welcome to discuss it, but.
No, I want to ask one more question. Can we put in a term limit, Mr. Attorney? Is that,
We'd have to revise, I'd have to review the ordinance,
Uh-huh.
and if we could, we would have to revise the ordinance by passing
right,
an ordinance making those revisions, which would be a 2 to 3 month process.
okay.
May I say one thing?
Sure.
I feel like a lot of this stuff that we're discussing right now should have already been discussed before this meeting even occurs, because right now we're wasting everybody's time
I don't
talking
think
about
so.
something that could have been talked about prior to this meeting if we were to have read our agenda and prepared.
That's why I brought up, I couldn't talk to you. Hold on, Ms. Joy. I could not call you personally and tell you how I
Did
felt
you call
about this.
anyone else?
And then I talked to, I couldn't call anyone else to discuss this. But my issue is, it's not per se it's the appointment, but my issue is how we're going about the appointment, Councilman. That's my thing, is that we need to learn how to go about the business the correct way. This is not just a one-man show, okay? This is about everybody. And God knows, Teresa, I would love for Teresa to get that position. I would love for Teresa to get that position. It's not that. It's just that you're sitting here and you're running business the way you run your own personal business, but this is not your business. This is city business, and this is the way it should be handled, the city way, not just the way we run our own business. That is what I'm saying. And yes, I looked over the agenda, and yes, I knew it was going to come up. But my thing is, the people need to know what's going on. They don't do like you do. Maybe you know what was going on. Yeah, I already found out what was going on. And I knew, that's why I sat here quiet the whole night to ask the question. How do we go about doing this? Some ways we do it one way, another way we do it another way. And let's be consistent about how we do the city business. I'm sorry, Ms. Bill. I'm so sorry.
Joanne Luther, Finance Director, good evening. I just want to share that a rewrite of the particular ordinance governing the Fire Pension Board is under item F, and it's in your packet. And this particular position is one that is recommended by the mayor by ordinance and appointed by the council. And they have to be residents of the city. And there is another member that is financial background required. That is not this one. However, she certainly does have very good knowledge to offer the board, and they do only meet once a year. Mr. Thrasher has not been able to attend several meetings, so the board was anxious to be able to get another member to be at their board meeting they plan to have in October. So that's how it evolved, but I wanted to share that.
Thank you. Now we understand the reason why. Thank you, Ms. Luther.
Okay, we now, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And the motion carries.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Mr. Sessions?
All right. Sorry. All right,
7A.
got a few things to talk about. You'll have to excuse me, a little under the weather today, normal for me. I just want to thank the governor for all the resources that came here, some of them before the storm, to start helping set up an EOC. We had National Guard, we had FMIT people, we had FEMA people, we had volunteer groups, Team Rubicon, who cleans up yards for free. We had agencies from around the state, both law enforcement and fire, that showed up here with command centers that enabled us to have meetings and get everybody involved and also communicate. We had generators show up to run our spray field so that our septic system wouldn't overflow, so we could actually run pump stations in the spray field so that we could actually keep people's toilets from backing up. I mean, we got people here with generators to run our well. We got electricians here to help with all the torn off weatherheads around the county. We got a lot of help, and our governor really was the reason for that. FEMA has done a good job. They're demobilizing now. A lot of the places are demobilizing. The cleanup started today with the debris teams coming into town. The DOT is in charge of the debris removal, not us. It's the DOT, the state, is in charge of running that contractor. We have nothing to do with it at all. Only thing we have to do with it is tell them where we like them to put the debris. I know we made an announcement, we sent some things out in our bills about separating the debris, construction debris, and then white goods, so that we don't have somebody with a big $1 million chipper here chipping up oak trees and get something in it that messes this $1 million machine up. So that's why we need to take care of that. I'm sure I'm leaving a lot of people out, but we had finance people here. We had every kind of piece of equipment show up for us to be able to operate the EOC. Every morning there was a meeting, most afternoons there was a meeting, and the people that showed up really cared and did a great job. All I can stress is that if you had any impact at all from the hurricane, you need to get a FEMA number, and here's why. If DC looks at our population and looks at our amount of households, and they see a low percentage of households reporting issues, then they're gonna think, well, they're pretty well off in Live Oak and Swanee County because we didn't have that big of, amount of people sign up for FEMA assistance. So there's plenty of people that lost food in refrigerators and freezers. Everybody had power out, so you were affected. So I encourage everybody to tell your family members and everybody you know to go get a FEMA number, because in the end, it will help this community even more. It's not gonna be immediate, it'll be down the road. Personally, I signed up and they messed up my credentialing and I had to go back today to get them to redo it because I can't log in because they got my wrong email or something, I don't know what it was. So, and that could happen too. So, and if you get turned down by FEMA, go reapply, go appeal it. But everybody that was affected needs to go get a FEMA number. There's countless things that's happened in the last 12, 13 days. Everybody has their own stories, everybody has their own problems. There's lots of devastation in this county. I've been pushing for the ag community to get help. We've had really no media here except the day the president showed up. It was the only media we've had here, and they showed up and then they left. Nobody's spoken anything about the ag side of what goes on in this community. The economic driver is ag. We do about $1 billion a year in ag out of this state, and we're hurting. We got our knees cut out from under us. There are probably 150 pivots flipped over. There's probably 150 chicken houses with damage or destroyed. There's crops in the field like peanuts and cotton that'll never get to sale. Pilgrim's Pride was down for a few days with no power, so they couldn't bring their 1,500 people on 3 shifts to work. So it's affected everybody here. And so we got together and we put up a helicopter today with the help of the Forest Service to take videos of the county to send to DC to Congressman Franklin, Congresswoman Kamek, and Rick Scott. Talked to him the day the president was here, and he said, Larry, the best thing you can do is send video and pictures. So the devastation has to be reported, because if you don't, people are going to leave, and this community is going to be hurting for a long time. I'm just a small-time farmer. I run a few cows, okay? And I know my problems are nothing compared to other people. I've got a friend in Lafayette County that lost a $500,000 cow barn. Ab Townsend in Madison has a sale barn. His whole roof caved in. He had to not have a sale for 2 solid weeks. So that means he's not making any money for 2 weeks, and nobody's been able to sell their cows for 2 weeks up there. So the impact is catastrophic. And I was on a Zoom call with some of my military buddies last Thursday night. Some of them in California, some of them in Indiana, some of them in Texas, some of them in New York and Maine. And I said, what have y'all heard about the hurricane? Well, Joe was there, and he was in front of a house with a tree on it. And that's what the world knows. They don't know about the economic impact that we're struggling through right now. And I had the CEO of Pilgrim's Pride in my office like a week ago. We were discussing those kinds of things. There's not much I can do in the city, but we were all discussing things. And we've got a good group of ag people trying to assess and gather numbers to send to DC with these pictures to show them the impact, so that when they do the ag bill that Vilsack will be involved in, and that Congressman Franklin is on the Appropriations Committee, that's where we need to put, you know, the focus. Because if I sell a cow and I get the money for it, then I go to Walmart and I buy food or clothes or whatever, okay? If we all hand that same dollar around, I buy hay from somebody and he buys something at a store. You know, somebody comes by and buys some hay for me. So our dollars really affect our community. We do export a lot, but most people don't understand how much we export. Our peanut butter goes all over the world. I mean, our poultry goes to Costco and Walmart and everybody you can think of. So if we don't get the help through Congress and the USDA, we're gonna be a long time digging out of this. Besides the devastation of the people with fences down, miles of fence down, and cattle dead, and chickens dead, and, you know, all kind of livestock. So, you know, the bottom line is, I'm an ag advocate, and I appreciate what the governor did for us with the National Guard and everything, but there was nothing done, and it wasn't his fault, but there was nothing done for ag because nobody was aware of it. But this community depends on it, and I will continue to be an advocate for ag as long as I'm alive, because that's how we all live. We all pass that same dollar around between us from ag sales. Sorry I'm on my soapbox, but somebody needs to say it, and we've done all we could in the last week and a half. We had the ag commissioner, the state ag commissioner here 2 Sundays ago to meet a bunch of farmers from 6 surrounding counties to show him the concern. That was not even a drop in a bucket compared to the amount of people that was actually affected. But I think he got it. But as the state ag person, there's not much he can do. We need to get federal help. And really that's my storm update. During the last 12, 13 days, we had meetings every day. We discussed issues. We learned a lot. We really did. We learned a lot on managing things like this, especially to the scope that we had. And I think that the response was pretty well. Everybody worked pretty well together. As far as, you know, sometimes you get too many chiefs in a room. And I think they did a good job working together and cooperating to get the final mission done. So anybody wants to discuss anything else later on, ask me, because I got 20 pages of notes here. But the only thing I stress is don't burn your debris in the city limits. They will pick it up, okay? They're coming. They started today. So please don't burn your debris within the city. Let them pick it up, haul it off. So, I'm sorry, that's all I got.
Mr. Session, excuse me, over in the, what's that, the annex building, Exhibit 2 building, there are 3 gentlemen that sit there, and just being nosy, I was trying to figure out what they were doing there, and they're doing something with the farmers, with the ag people.
Well, the FSA is in the big coliseum with all the handouts. The FEMA people
Okay.
aren't doing really anything for farming. They're going to ask you about your house, if you own your house, how many people's in your house,